I wanted to talk about, this time that people spend in corporate or in the corporate work environment. If they work a, typical office job or, even in a production environment as well. If you work for a corporation or, you work for a big Wall Street firm or even a big national corporation, there are things that, you have to keep in mind of that don't really fit well for the individual and so forth. And it can be, devastating to their personal development and so forth. And you can do great and excel in corporate, but you can still be what I call a miserable fudge. Now, I'm going to keep this PG-13, but I wanted to say the other word. But you can be a miserable, fug at it, if not for a better term. So you can do really well in the corporate environment, excelling, working for your employer and so forth. But really, does it benefit you? Are you really getting the most out of your personal development? Are you improving as an individual? Or are you doing something that is helping you move forward in your life? And honestly, the answer is no. And having been in corporate for over the last decade, I can tell you right now that I'm not much better as an individual. Maybe professional development, yes, but overall, I don't feel like I've gained valuable skills that have made me more money. But I also know that being in corporate for the majority of people today just keeps people from achieving their true potential and going after their real dreams. And so I wanted to talk about one individual who I just keep thinking of and who I've known for a decade now. I haven't talked to her since, but she's just the best example of of what's going on right now. So there is this really nice lady. She goes by the name of Chastity. I won't say her full name just to respect her, but I gotta say, she's one of the nicest ladies that I have ever met. And when I met her about 10 years ago, she came into my work environment at the time as a site manager. She had an incredible background in management and so forth, and she knew a lot of this stuff. And she has a degree in business management and so forth. I would say she's about 10 or 12 years older than me, but she went through the college route and she worked her way up through corporate. And she is someone who I interacted with on one, and we've had great conversations. And I can tell that she was someone who believed in me, and she was like, "Hey, I think this individual can move and grow, and he'll move up in the company and so forth." And now that I look back at it, I'm glad I didn't really take that advice, or I'd say I'm going to move up, but I feel that it just didn't sound right at the time. And so, you know what, um, what I've witnessed over the years, I haven't talked to her probably, gosh, over 20 months. And because where I work at right now, she works at the site downtown. Uh, ever since she has moved up to executive director and now she's managing director, so She is oversight of several uh, sites across the country, and she's now taking more responsibilities. And that's the thing. A couple months ago, every quarter or so she does these online virtual town halls across the network, and I did get the chance to watch some of it. And when I watched her talk and give her introductory comments and so forth, I'm telling you, man, she looked like a miserable thug to me. She looked like she was depressed. She was just not into it. I mean, she started along the line of, "Welcome to our town hall. We're so glad that you're here to join us. And I just want to give a shout out to all of you who have come and for all of your hard work and effort and supporting our clients and so forth. And we want to give you a shout out." I mean, she sounded like a robot. It, or she was just like reading off a script. And so when I was listening to that, I mean, right away, I can tell that the tone was very monotone. It was not exciting. I didn't see the passion in her. It didn't seem like she was enjoying the work or something. Now, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she was going through some personal struggles and so forth. But still, do you really want to present yourself in a monotone way where you're just being so boring that you're not really interested into it, or maybe you're just not into the overall work that you do? I don't think so. I mean, if I was in her shoes, I'd present myself in at least a little bit more positive manner. But she didn't seem excited, and so that's what I really took away from it, is that she just did not look like she was the most exciting person, and she just she seemed miserable. And I felt sorry for her because ever since then, I found out that last week there was a department-wide email that her boss had sent out to the network, and she basically said something along the line of, "Hello, everyone. Just want to let you know that we have this Adam individual who has been running the this department for quite some time, but he did let me know that he is going to be leaving our department to pursue better opportunities. And so, in the meantime, I'm going to be, or I've asked Miss Chastity to, look over this division now." And she basically went on to tout her successes and her accomplishments and so forth. And she's like, "Yep, Chastity is the most qualified person, and with more of these responsibilities, she's she's a great asset to our department and also to the company." And when I read that, I kept thinking, man, she's getting more responsibilities. And it's uh it's unfortunate. I mean, you would think getting more responsibilities is a privilege and you think that's great, but really taking on more responsibilities as it is, it can be it can be stressful. And this isn't the only time where she has been given more responsibilities, but basically, she something like this happened to her a couple years ago where someone else left the company and then she took over. So she went from running two departments to now she looks over three departments. So in a way, she is now overlooking three departments, and it's just more responsibilities and more stress. But I gotta say, when I read that last week, I just I just expressed more sympathy to her because she's now going to be taking on more responsibilities. She's going to be probably burned out. She's going to be fatigued and so forth. And that's unfortunate. And this is something that happens a lot in the corporate world. I don't know what's going on. At the company I work at, they're not really doing a lot of promotions when it comes to upper management, but it seems like there is like a consolidation of departments and lines of business and so forth, and people just consolidate it all together, and people take on more responsibilities, which leads to a heavier workload, more responsibilities, and more stress. So, but I had nothing but sympathy for Chastity because not only did she look miserable 2 months ago, but now that she's taking on more responsibilities, it's just gonna not make her job that more pleasant or comfortable. Now, I don't say comfortable lightly because being in corporate, it can make you very fat and comfortable for a while, especially if you're working for someone else and you get a nice big paycheck. I don't know. I don't think Chastity is comfortable, but I know she does get paid well. You know, I don't know what her salary is. It's probably well into the six figures, but her pay is none of my business. But maybe she is just doing it for the money. And that's the thing. When you work in corporate and you look to move up higher in the manager hierarchy, you, I don't know, the money's great, but are you really more satisfied or fulfilled? I don't think so. And that's the thing. You think that getting more pay and more responsibilities makes you a special person, but it just it leads to more stress, more anxiety, and it uh it leads to a lot of other negative things. And knowing Chastity myself, Chastity has gone through some mental health issues. She did acknowledge it about 2 years ago and so forth. She wrote an article about uh, going through some things and so forth, and I applaud her for that. But it also tells me that being in this position is not really the most fulfilling thing to her. And she's also a mom as well. She's got one daughter, and I assume she's happily married. But it also it can be I know it can be hard when she has to work a lot of hours but doesn't spend a whole lot of time with her family. So that's another thing as well. And I do feel sorry for her on that part. People like Chastity, they think that they have succeeded and they've accomplished a lot. Now, I'll tell you right now, Chastity is a great example of someone who excels in corporates, but I know that in my opinion, she's just another miserable thug. And if I told that to her in front of her face, I know she would get emotional about it and she probably would push back, but I tell her the truth. I tell her like, "Listen, lady, I respect you. You're a talented individual. You've moved up. You have had a lot of accomplishments in your professional career. But I'm telling you, you look miserable. you are depressed, you are overloaded on work, you are stressed out, you have too many responsibilities. I mean, are you really are you really moving forward in your life? Are you really happy? Are you passionate about the work that you do? I mean, she might say that, but I don't think she would say it in an honest approach. If I had a really honest discussion with her about it and she was open about it, then I think she would probably admit some confessions and truths, and maybe that would change her. But I know that's never going to happen. I don't know the next time I'll talk to her. If I don't know if I'll ever interact with her again. But it also confirms to me that people like Chastity are experiencing a slow death in life. They are dying inside. Their souls inside them are dying every single day that they're working the job. I mean, they're they're a great asset to their employers. I mean, Chastity, uh, she is definitely CEO like material, and uh, she is definitely making the company much better, and she is doing the work, and she is making the company richer. But in regards to her own self interests, I don't think she's doing herself any favors. And there was a quote that I kind of made up last week, and it really sums up, what this video is all about. And it goes along the line of this: the more responsibilities you have, the more stressed you are, and the less happy you are. Let me repeat that. The more responsibilities you take on, the more stressed out you are, and the less happy and the less fulfilled that you are. And really, that is how I pretty much describe what most people in corporate today are going through. People can, work their way up. They can work hard. They can work their way up through the corporate ladder, and they can accomplish a lot in their professional careers. But at the end of the day, are they more happy and fulfilled than they were when they started their careers? And the answer to that is I don't think so. Now, what am I doing in regards to this situation? Because I've been in corporate for over a decade, and I've talked about not too long ago that I could be losing my employment come next year in 2027. But for me, I'm someone who does not want to technically move up. I may move up one more spot to like a supervisor role, but really, that's it. Or maybe not move up at all, but maybe it's just best for me to leave the company and get out of corporate altogether. And that's kind of an exit plan that I'm working on right now. And, I have a written plan and so forth, and I want to work on getting out of, not being get out of being in corporate and do things that bring me joy and make me fulfilled and so forth, and bring the best out of me. And I firmly believe that when it comes to my journey being in corporate, if I were to stay in corporate for until my retirement years, then I would be a miserable thug myself. So, and it's something to really keep in mind of, and something I'm really working on getting out of. because being in corporate, like I mentioned about chastity, it could bring the worst out of you personally, and I just don't want to go down the route. I definitely don't want to be in chastity's shoes because I know that's going to be more stress and not as happy and fulfilled as I was before. So, but I think that there is there's something to keep in mind about, and I think just working in corporate does not benefit a lot of people. Most people go into corporate because they think that they want to do something that could be meaningful and maybe they go in to make money, but really at the end of the day, it's not really about them. It's about the corporations, it's about their employers, it's about the corporations making profits. And this is something that I heard not too long ago, and I think it's more true than ever. But corporate is all about profits. They don't give a fuck about their people, and the people who work for them, the employees, they are just they're just these little assets that help the company grow and become rich, and it makes CEOs of all these companies filthy, greedy, rich. Now, I would describe that as a CEO that works in my company because I think he is, well, I won't mention him here, but he is an absolute snake oil. He is a hypocrite, and I think he's one of the most pathetic, vile people on Wall Street. But I wish I could, but I'm still with this company, so I'll have you figure that out yourself. But overall, being in corporate, it doesn't benefit anyone. And if you're in corporate right now, really keep this in mind because you don't have to be on this path that you're on right now. You could easily change directions and go on a different path. Even if it's working for a small business like a mom and pop shop, or even if it's doing like remote work, there are other options out there for you. And so that could be something that you could look into and so forth. But whatever you decide to do, make sure that you're doing it to serve your own interests, and make sure that you're doing it to advance your own causes, and that it's not just about serving the employers. And the best thing you can do is to work for yourself, but not a lot of people don't want to go down that route. But something to think about. It's not for everyone, but I think this is just some food for thought that I had in mind. And you know Chastity, like I said, she's a great example of someone who excels in corporate, but deep down, personally, I don't think she's doing well. And that's something to keep in mind of and really make note of. And I wish nothing but the best for her. But who knows? Anyway, that's all I got for today's video. If you enjoyed this video and you got some value, uh, feel free to join my email list where I do more deep dives into these topics and I discuss more in depth. And if you have any thoughts or questions of mine, leave them in the comment section below, and I'll be glad to read them and get back to you. We can start a good conversation and so forth. But in the meantime, that's all I got. And until next time, peace.